What is going on, you guys? It is week 8 of lockdown here in Sydney, so going a little bit stir crazy, not gonna lie. It's been a long 8 weeks, but I'm sure we'll probably get out of this one day. Anyway, I have my hands on the Sony 90mm macro 2.8, which is meant to be super sharp, and I don't really do enough macro photos, I find. So I thought, why not give it a try, take some cool macro photos, and let's see if you guys can guess what these macro photos are. But let's get into it. Real quick before we jump into the video, if you like this, be sure to like it and smash that subscribe button, and don't forget to leave a comment down below. But let's get cracking. Okay, so as you can see, my setup today is really simple. I'm literally just shooting in front of this big, nice window here. So I'm literally just using 100% natural light. I'm not even using any of my lights. So I'm gonna try and see what kind of different shots I can get of some different materials. And then I'll post on my story and I'll let you guys guess. But then I'll also show you guys how I took the shot. So I'll literally just be shooting from a few different perspectives. But let's just start shooting. Okay, before I start shooting, why don't you guys pause the video and try and guess what this is in the comments below. And then I'll show you what I shot. So you can see already that there's just an insane amount of detail that you can get with this 90mm. And it's not specific to this 90mm, but with macro in general, macro lenses, you can get a relatively tight shot and get some extreme amount of detail that you just wouldn't have necessarily thought otherwise. So yeah, really cool. So one thing to note with macro lenses is that although they are, so with this one especially, although it is a 2.8, it's always good to shoot at probably like a 5.6 and higher, just because a 2.8 is relatively shallow depth of field. And when you're shooting macro, it's a bit better to get a larger depth of field so that you get more in focus, unless you want something very small in focus. The other thing as well is that you do need a lot of light. So I would probably suggest having an external light, but otherwise, you know, this natural light source coming from the window is just good enough. But I would actually say it's actually producing some really nice looking images, even though it's just natural light. So yeah, don't necessarily need tons of expensive lights. It's always a plus. And probably the third thing to note as well is that because it is a macro lens, a lot of the background does get blown out. So you don't even need to have, you know, a big studio setup or some big background to make it look nice and fancy. Because it's such a small little item, you can have whatever in the background. And because, like I said, because it's macro lens, it'll just blow it out in bokeh or smoothness. Like, look at this shot. There's basically no background in this. You wouldn't even know that it was the wooden floorboards in the background because it's just so nice and smooth. All right, so as you can tell, that first one I was shooting is a banana. And so I was just trying to take some different shots of it and sort of put something in there that you wouldn't necessarily expect to see from a banana and give it kind of a different perspective. So I think it's always important when you're shooting this kind of stuff is to give a bit of a different perspective on it. And I guess that kind of goes for anything. generally speaking, is you kind of shoot it to give a different perspective of it and to give it your own kind of creative look, I guess. So always try and remember to shoot different objects in the way that you see it, and then you want something that'll grab people's attention when you post it. So yeah, I think that's always handy. Okay, yes, so the first one was a banana. Now let's see if you can guess this one. Yeah, so basically what it is I have this little tree I'm growing over here. So I took some really close photos of the leaves, and then yeah, I just played around with it. So with this shot, I really want to capture the line kind of down the middle there and make it look almost like a valley for the macro shot. So yeah, I think it's just about playing around with, like I said, the different perspectives and trying to find something unique that you wouldn't necessarily think of if you look at an everyday object like a leaf, for example. The other thing I find handy as well is being able to use a manual focus on this one. So it is a clutch manual focus, so literally just pull the clutch down, it's manual focus, automatic, which is super handy because sometimes you want to try to lock in on that specific part of the image and focus on that, and you can't always do that for whatever reason. So yeah, good design. Okay, so I have my next two objects loaded in, ready to go. So pause the video and see if you can guess in the comments below what this one is. Yeah, so if you guess one of these, a pokey stick or a pocky stick, that's what it's called. It's called a pocky stick. So if you guess one of these, which is a pocky stick, you're correct. Let's go to the next item. But for real though, pocky sticks, so good. Okay, so this one is a small object again. So I'm actually not going to tell you what this object is. I'll put in the photos, but you have to go over to my Instagram to find out what the images are. So go check it out. So as a spoiler, yes, this thing does technically have flowers, but it's not something you would expect to find flowers on. Alright guys, that just about concludes it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed. I don't really do that much macro stuff like I said, but I do kind of like trying out different things. But with all that said and done, make sure you like and subscribe and go check me out on Instagram. But otherwise, I'll see you in the next video. See ya.